Sig Sauer P365 SAS epic fail, as the title states. So, in my opinion, there's something that Sig did that was a great concept, but it just didn't work out, and that is the bullseye sight. So, as you can see in the picture here, now that's what it's supposed to look like, and it would be great if it did look like that. But oftentimes what you'll find, especially if you use it as a carry gun, is something, let's get it to focus, more like this. And I know what you're thinking, just clean it, yada yada yada. Okay, so these are just my opinions on this, but I definitely think Sig could have done better than what they did here. Go ahead and chamber check it for all you viewers out there on YouTube. So you can see, chamber is empty, magazine is empty. So we'll start off with what they did and why I call it an epic fail. So the bullseye optic, everybody knows, everybody's seen it. If you haven't seen it, it's a great concept. It's that little tiny buried sight there, and the idea is that there's nothing to snag on. So going in out of a pocket, it's going to be very smooth, right? And it is, and it definitely does do that part well. And I know, I'm sure a lot of you are saying, well, you know, if you actually had to use it in a self-defense situation, it's going to be more point and shoot. You're not really going to take time to aim. But that's still not the point. Every single time I take this thing out to the range, I have to clean this, okay? If it's just been a day or two, and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even really have to be used. It just has to sit around, and it seems like this thing is just a freaking dirt and dust magnet. Now, having it recessed this little tiny bit here, maybe they could have brought that out just a little bit farther so there's not this gap here that collects so much dirt and makes it so hard to get off. Because if that were all the way back here, you could probably just wipe it off with your finger. God, if you had to draw real quick, you thumb it off and you might be able to have a sight picture. But they didn't do that. Okay, so things that they did do, because I'm not bashing Sig in any way at all. Actually, I'm not done. There's something else that I'm irritated about. Okay, so as you know, the XL comes, you know, optics ready with the slide cut. This is not optics ready, and Sig doesn't have an adapter to allow you to put even the Romeo Zero on here. I mean, you know, it would be great if Sig would release you know, just a cheap optics adapter to allow you to put a red dot on this, like a little Holosun 407 or 507. You know, that would be really great, but they didn't. So you're left with the options of, you can have this milled, or there are two companies out there that are manufacturing red dot slide adapters, and I'm not going to name them, but anyways, quick Google search, and I'm sure you'll find it. There's two companies, they both make them. One of them's in stock, so we did order it, and if you're interested in seeing it once it's on, you know, let me know in the comments. Regardless, it doesn't matter if you say you want to see it or don't want to see it, I'm still going to do a video on it in the future. But back to my rant. This thing's great. I really love it. It's been extremely reliable. The only failures that we've seen in this pistol have been ammunition related. Aside from that, the things that we added to it, this little hoe grip here, definitely adds a little bit of comfort. And for me, my fingers fit it perfectly. So you can see I do have relatively big hands compared to this. But that right there with this little grip extension, it gives me just enough grip to where I can actually get a firm grip on this pistol. Now, other things that they did great, in my opinion, they have this rail adapter here, so you could add a light if you wanted to, if that's something that you're into. But for the most part, they're just extremely reliable. So here's another thing to note. The first bullseye that we had, actually the glow went away, and we had to request a replacement. But Sig didn't want to just ship out a replacement. They wanted us to ship them the slide and then wait for them to send it back. So super inconvenient. Luckily, a lot of guys have removed these and don't want them. So I was able to find a brand new one and replace it myself. So after replacing it, you can already tell, get it into focus. Okay, there we go. So you can already tell this one is doing the same thing. And another thing that I've noticed is that dirt somehow gets underneath of this clear coating here, as well as this clear coating getting scratched up. And the more scratched up that gets, the darker this is. So in here is dependent on some kind of, on the light going in here. And when this gets all scratched up and dirty, this stops working. Okay, so with the first one, that wasn't the problem. The tritium or whatever's inside here just simply stopped glowing. And Sig said, yes, you know, in fact, they have had quite a few customers send them back. So that's something that, you know, if you're sending them out with this and you know that it stops working, maybe there should be some kind of serviceable or replaceable part in it, right? Anyways, so just so you can see, there's definitely quite a bit of wear. This thing has not been, you know, a safe queen. It's definitely been used. We have shot thousands upon thousands of rounds, and we are one of the few people that are lucky enough to actually have, you know, quite a bit of ammunition to be able to do that. Anyways, here's another cool little feature that Sig adds in there. Instead of having a replacement for the bullseye when it definitely stops working, or instead of cutting it so that you could actually mount a red dot on here, or instead of including a red dot adapter with it, because let's face it, red dots are a thing. Everybody loves red dots. If you don't like red dots, well, that's great for you, but I personally, I love red dots, and I feel like everything should come optic ready, you know. But they did include this little band. Now I'm not exactly sure what in the heck you do with this thing, so I've seen a lot of people that just have it slipped on here or somewhere on the pistol. Yeah, great, awesome, literally. Okay, so Sig is very proud of their magazines, right? And these things run 60 bucks on the market. So definitely another downside to having this is the price of the magazines. One day when I had this thing and I was sitting there and I was just switching out some ammunition and I was unloading it, right? And this is an issue a lot of people have mentioned, and I've seen it in the forums, and the rounds hung up right here in one of these grooves. And I don't remember if it was this side or this side, but they hung up there and I was able to shake them and they just fell out. And so I started freaking out and was like, man, that would be terrible if you were actually counting on that. Well, there's an answer to that too. So when this is inside of the pistol, there's actually the magazine release here grips into this and prevents that from ever happening. So I highly doubt that would ever happen while it's in a pistol. Like I said, we have shot this thing thousands upon thousands of rounds, honestly, and it's still just as good as it was when we first got it. Aside from that, that was just something that happened to me. So if it happens to you, don't freak out. When it's inside of the pistol, these are engaged and rounds aren't able to get kind of pinned up inside there. So that should make you feel a little better at least. Okay, so wall. Now we're gonna hit reset. Relatively long, but it's definitely audible. Okay, so something else that has been mentioned quite a bit and is just kind of the fear is that the early on original models had what was called primer drag, where the striker would drag against the primer and eventually led to broken strikers. We haven't noticed that with this. We haven't noticed that with the XL. They've both been extremely reliable. I definitely would count on them in a firefight. Wouldn't hesitate to have it as my only. It's my personal favorite pistol, so It's one of those, if I could only have one, I would definitely have this with a freaking red dot on it, but you know what I mean. I really love this gun. I think Sig did a great job, and all nonsense aside, once I get that red dot on there, I'm sure I'll be a lot happier. Not sure if this is still going to work the same, or if I'm going to have to order one that's cut. Probably won't actually order one that's cut. I'll probably just take a Dremel and go all ham and hack it apart myself and make it fit, because, you know, those things are relatively expensive. Which brings me to another point. If you're looking for an extremely comfortable holster, these things by Crossbreed, definitely one of the most comfortable holsters I've ever seen. It is worn, as you can see. It's definitely seen better days, but the leather almost seems to just wear in and get more and more comfortable. So the clips, they've held up great. All in all, everything that I could say about this. Now, I tried numerous different styles of holsters. I tried the Kydex ones. I tried, you know, just plain leather ones. I tried all sorts of different stuff. And when I got this, it was a gift from a friend of mine, and he told me it's going to be uncomfortable at first, but just break it in. So that's what I did. I took the time to break this in, and it seems like the more I used it, the more I wore it, the more comfortable it got, to the point to where you can honestly actually forget that you're even carrying. That's how comfortable it is. The leather just kind of forms to your body. So definitely check them out. They're amazing. I know this thing's really worn and probably needs to be cleaned out, but last forever. Wow. Jeez, that's dirty. Yeah, oh well. Look at that. That's terrible. But it just goes to show, you know, this is something that's actually worn. This is actually carried, you know, as well as this. So this being in and out of here all the time, that's why you see all this wear from the holster. And it's something that we train with, we practice with all the time, and it's been great. I just honestly wish more than anything would have just included an adapter, or just make an adapter so we don't have to buy them from a third party for ridiculous prices and then wait on freaking shipping. Just make one already. That way everybody that has one of these, if they want to, you know they do, can just mount a freaking red dot on it and get rid of this. In the event that you do have to use your carry pistol in a self-defense situation, most likely it's going to be point and shoot, but still the optic leaves a lot to be desired. Just my opinions, okay? I love everything about this pistol. I love that it's got a ported slide. Love that. Really actually does make quite a difference. So we do have the XL version as well, which in my opinion is probably the best one that they did. We did have the original at one point in time, and the original's great. So this one you can see quite a bit of wear because it's definitely been used. So some of the positives as well as some of the negatives. So positives are, it's a great pistol. I mean, we have shot thousands of rounds through this with minimal failures. And most of the failures were most likely ammunition related. So aside from that, it's rock solid. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. In and out of the holster, super slick. There's nothing to snag on. So anyways, the snag resistant part of it, I get it. That's great. And it makes a big difference. Okay? So now let me go ahead and clean this up so I can show you what I'm talking about. Alright, now that we got it cleaned up, let's go ahead and get a better picture on that. So, let me just get it to focus. Okay, so there you have it. So, anyways, back to the point of the video. Okay, back to the point of the video. Epic fail. So where did they fail on this, in my opinion? it's this. It's this. Okay, so the bullseye optic is the failure. So other people have said, you know, suggested, friends of mine, why don't I just get a new slide for this? And that's great, you know, it's definitely an option. I could just buy an optic cut slide, but then there's another downside. The barrel is ported, so you can see I'll lock it open. That might be an issue if I get a non-ported slide and have a ported barrel. What do you think? Think that might be an issue? I definitely think it'll be an issue. But so replacing the barrel as well as the slide is an option. Personally, I don't want to do it. That's why I just went with the adapter plate, and when I get it, you'll see it. I'll get it mounted up and we'll go from there.